Hi, welcome to Storytime. If you have a copy of the It's All About Jesus Bible storybook, please go grab it and bring it back so that you can follow along. And if you don't have a copy, that's okay too. Please just sit back and enjoy the story.
Hello, my name is Keith, and I'll be reading God's covenant with Abraham. Abram lived with his wife, Sarai. God chose Abram and told him to move to a place he had never been. Have you ever had to move? It can be challenging and scary at times. God promised Abram three things: a large family, land for his family, and his blessing. God visited Abram in a vision and said, "Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward will be very great." Can anyone remember the three things that God promised Abram? I'll give you a few seconds. Three things. Remember? He promised him a large family, land for his family, and his blessing. This was a good promise, but Abram was sad. He didn't have any children to inherit his blessing. "One of my slaves will be my heir," Abram said. But God had a better plan. He took Abram outside to remind him of his promise. "Look at the sky and count the stars if you can." Abram couldn't count the stars. There were too many. "Your family will be that numerous," God promised. Numerous means a lot. Very high number. Higher than you can count, basically. Higher than I can count. Abram believed God, and God was pleased. God also promised that Abram's family would keep the land they were living in. Abram asked, "How can I be sure?" So God confirmed his covenant with Abram. He's looking at the stars trying to count. God told Abram to bring 5 animals: a cow, a goat, a ram, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. What's your favorite animal out of those 5? I kind of like the turtle dove. Abram did as God said, and he divided the animals. Then, when the sun was setting, a deep sleep came over him. While Abram slept, God told him what would happen in the future. He said that Abram's family would be slaves in another country for 400 years. Then God would judge the nation and bless Abram's family. Even though these things would happen, Abram would live a long, peaceful life. When it was dark, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch representing God passed between the divided animals. This showed that God would be responsible for keeping his promise. Many years passed, and Abram still didn't have the promised son. God hadn't forgotten, though. He appeared to Abram, and reminded him, "I am God Almighty. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly." God was so serious about his promise that he changed Abram's name to Abraham, which means father of a great multitude. God told Abraham that he would be the father of nations, even kings. "I will keep my promise to you," God said, "and it will last forever. I will be your God, and I will be the God of your family, of everyone who comes after you." God repeated his promise to give Abraham and his offspring all the land of Canaan where they were living. "You will own this land forever," he said. That's it. That's the story of Abram so far. And now,
Thanks, Mr. Keith. Boys and girls, who keeps his promises? Yes, God keeps his promises. And remember what he told Abraham? He said, "I am God Almighty. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you greatly." And God kept his promise. I look forward to doing story time again next week, but if you'd like to do a craft to go with today's story, please check out our guide for kids on our website. Have a great week!